Hi, I'm Kevin Tame, and welcome to The Hacktivist. Today I'm playing Weyland's Building a Better World in the Core 2.0 only match, and I'm going to be playing against Chaos Theory. So let's jump right in. So this is an okay starting hand. My plan in this match is to kind of just go as fast as I can, just jam things out. So seeing the hostile early is good. I can just score right away. The risk is that I do get hit by indexing, but I think that's okay. In this position here, when I draw, I have two agendas, so I'm taking a risk that if they do run HQ, they will steal one. But I think that's okay because oftentimes what happens here is the runner is trying to kind of get money going for themselves, so they might not run. And I think there's actually a little bit of a tempo hit for him to go in and trash the pad. To me, pad is often used as just like a bait tool to force them to go in and trash it. So here I'm just going to keep jamming out. The real goal here is if I can jam out these first few agendas before my opponent can steal any of them, I'm in a really good position. And so my plan here is to get some money. I'm debating if I should jam this out because I do have a toll booth there and I can res it, but that means that they need to have a Gordian blade ready to go. So my opponent could test run this in Fem, but that does kind of put them at a credited disadvantage as well. So I still think it's the right move to just go as fast as possible here. So that's what my opponent does, is they have a Fem, and they actually had to hard install that. And so I'm actually okay with that because they're now at 3 credits. And so I can now try and dig for another agenda and jam it. If I top deck one, that's even better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up a new remote. I'm going to put Elizabeth Mills in there. And what I want to do is I want to try and force the runner to come in and contest this. So they tinker it, which is kind of a waste of a tinkering, but that's fine. They don't know that. And now Archer, they have to deal with Archer, and Archer is a real pain for Fem. Basically costs them all their money. I gain 2 money, so it really just cost me an agenda and two credits. And so now what I'm looking for is another agenda to try and score. And I don't want retrieval run to happen, so I cover up archives. And then the main reason I res Mills here is because I want to just get rid of one of my bad pubs that I had gotten from the hostile. So my opponent is pretty poor right now, so seeing an agenda is really good for me. Because if it's an Atlas, I believe I can. I don't know why my opponent is going in to trash this. And so my next play here is to do a Grendel Refinery if I don't top deck an agenda. And sorry about that, my opponent had to go get something from the door. And here's another one where I'm going to just jam out a punitive because I'm banking on the fact that my opponent can't get in with Fem. And if they do, they're just going to bankrupt themselves, and then maybe I can punitive them. This might be a pretty risky play. It might have been better to put the other Archer on server 4 and then wait a turn to be able to advance. But my strategy for this, I feel the challenge that often CT has is she can't go fast enough with Opus, and so if you can outpace her, she's not going to get all of her pieces. And since he drew, that basically means it's going to be difficult for him to get in, because let's see here. Fem is strength 2, and this is strength 6, and he needs to get... Yeah, he wouldn't have had the money to be able to get through without trashing his pieces. This is great because I have some expensive ice. Yeah, so if he hadn't have done that Lizzie move, then he probably would have had the money, which he was noting there. So I was able to raise the Hadrian's Wall. I also have the toll booth that I could have raised, so I had a really great ice for being able to score a private security force. Now I just, what I want to do here is I want to jam out some stuff and force him to go check it. And Grendel is a great opportunity for this. So basically what I'm doing is I'm forcing him to use his stim hacks. And the nice thing here is he doesn't have, he can't use Mimic. If he could use Mimic, it'd be great, but he needs like a Data Sucker or something like that. So he sees it's a Grendel refinery. It's only upside for me. He wastes a stim hack, a brain damage. I lost 2 credits and an install. And so now I can jam that out. And the main reason I jammed, I double advance is because I want him to think it's a trap or an aggressive secretary, or I want him to, like if he comes and steals it, yeah, that stinks and that's bad. But at the same time, it continues to tax him with tempo. And so here he goes in and he's gonna be able to come in and steal it. I still think that was the right play. Now I am in a position where I can actually, I could have double punitive. Oh no, he had crash space, so I couldn't have double punitive him. So I'm setting up another install advance. And the reason, once again, is I want to force him to keep coming through. And he's at a position where he's like, oh man, I don't know if I can, and if I can recover. This is what my opponent's saying. I'm trying to get better at the he versus my opponent, because I can't assume that all my opponents are males. So I apologize. I'm working on that. Thanks for some other people who've watched my videos who's told me, hey, be better about saying my opponent versus saying he. So now I can't punitive my opponent at all. So I do need to score out. So I need to get the Hadrian set up, and I need to get I need to get a server here that he can't get through. And so I know he can't, I'm pretty confident that he won't be able to get through this server. And if he does, it's only a hostile takeover. So that's good for me, because if he does run it, it's going to cost him a lot. So he tinkers it. So this is exactly what I wanted to happen, because if he, this is going to be expensive for him to get. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough position. Like I've been putting the pressure on him by installing every turn, and he knows this, and my opponent knows this and wants to put the pressure, because they don't want me to score these agendas, obviously. So once again, I'm going to install, because the more I can install and pressure my opponent, the better. This one, it would have been nice if that's an archer. That would have been, I think, game ending for my opponent. But I'm debating here because it is a card that, like, I think would tax him or my opponent, but I don't think it attacks them enough. So I think this is a good scoring window. And my opponent is probably going to check HQ again, and this is where I will res the toll booth if they try and come in. But I didn't feel confident enough that I could protect that server from my opponent getting in, because what this now requires them to do with the Enigma is they have to have Gordian, and then they have to break with Hadrian's, with battering ram, and they have to use Fem on Archer unless they have a tinkering. So basically, they need to have a lot of money and accordion in hand to be able to do this, which they might be able to do. But I felt like it was my opportunity, because if I had let the game go longer, it's likely my opponent would have continued to smash on Opus. And if they had gotten more credits than me, I can't score out of this remote. That's my only... The reality is that I can't... the inevitability is in my opponent's favor, and so this is my time, and if I extend it much longer, it's likely that I'll lose the game. There is an argument that I could hold on to it in HQ and then try and find another Atlas. But even then, the Atlas doesn't get me there, because I've lost one of my hostiles. All the hostiles have been scored, so I actually have to score a priority requisition. Like, that is the agenda I have to score. So this, I think, is my only opportunity. And that was an archer there. I'm not going to res it. If they hit another agenda, they win. Yeah, and he's talking about how it would have been better if he Maker's Eyed, but the game is in the bag for me here. That was really well played by my opponent. My opponent kept the pressure up the entire game, and I was at the point there where if I had let it go much longer, I would have lost. So thanks so much for watching this. If you have any questions, I think Weyland Building a Better World is one of the best decks in the core, and I think the strategy is really strong to just keep installing stuff into a server, force your opponent to keep going into that server, and you basically distract them from hitting your centrals, and you make them really poor in doing so. And then also you make so much money, you have this credit advantage, which you have the punitive threat on them. Crash Space is a good tech for it, but it's still problematic that, like, they need to be careful of it, because if they are low on cards and you have two punitives, if my opponent had two cards and one Crash Space, I can double punitive and kill them. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and thanks for watching. Thanks. Bye.